8 o'clock. Everybody.
You don't want to take your minutes in case people are late?
Lorelei, would you like to welcome everybody, please? You're muted.
Okay. I'm happy to see everybody here, although officially I'm not allowed to say I'm happy because this is actually the low point of the Jewish year. This is the rock bottom of the spiritual cycle of the Jewish year, where we confront our most broken selves. And in a big way, we're thinking about like the mourning practices because we're mourning. So traditionally in this stage of mourning, we don't even greet each other. We don't even say hello. It's like that. So we're all here together. We're all glad to see each other, but we're also here to tap into a sense of loss that we've all experienced. Epigenetically, as part of the Jewish people, we have eternal sort of melancholy underpinning to our perspective on our heritage because of the repeated experience of exile. The whole idea of redemption has to do with being reunited and becoming whole and healed. And this is obviously macro and micro, so whatever works for you, but please feel welcome to really get in touch with how wounded or hurt or damaged you personally feel from the hardships that we've all communally endured, the things that you've individually endured, and your Jewish neshama, the part of your soul that's connected to the universal mourning of loss and the universal experience of exile, the universal experience of losing something that's precious to you. So let's just respectfully enter this space together. And yeah.
Thank you. We'll start reading the book of Eicha, composed after the destruction, the 5th century BC. Our ancestors wrote the book of Eicha. Lamentations is an incredible book which sees the Babylonian as agents of Yad Hashem, that mipnei chataenu galinu me'artzenu, because of our sins, because of what we did, we brought on destruction. And how could we account for that today? Well, we do. We see the infighting. Later on, it was sinat chinam, the infighting, the fighting, the struggles between Jews caused weakness, a lack of political understanding of what was going on, a lack of strategy. It's a long discussion, but Eicha was written in response to that terrible tragedy, awful tragedy, and we did recover from that to some extent. But we'll start. Len Fellman is our first guy. Len, I'd love you to be in the room to get. So we're going to start. We're going to start today with Len, then Sophie, then myself, then Ami, and then Rabbi Tsvi. Okay?
Jonathan, this
Yeah.
is Rabbi Sara. Do you want me to chant English before the Hebrew starts?
No, I like to start the Hebrew.
So just cue me then.
I will cue you. You'll do, after each chapter, you'll do a bit of English.
And you don't want to do Havdalah first?
No.
It's too early for Havdalah.
Too early.
Then it's too early to do Eicha.
True.
True.
But my takana for this moment is to wait for Havdalah. We'll start Eicha. We could do a simple Havdalah if you want, which is just to say the Ben Kodesh L'chol, okay? we could
Can I
just do
just
that.
give you some times if we're interested in times and earliness and lateness?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because the fast technically begins at 8:29 and Shabbat ends at 9:15 p.m. So we don't,
20 more minutes.
I'm not sure how you want to hold on
Yeah, I
when
wonder
to
if
do
I
what.
should, what will we do for the 20 minutes? I was
We
intending
could
to
watch the Susan Felix.
we could, okay.
Great idea.
We
we
have
could
a
watch the
wonderful
Susan
video
Felix.
clip,
Can
friends.
you get an update on Susan and Sandy and
So
whoever
we're-
else is ill
wait,
in our
Yeah,
community?
do we want to delay for 20 minutes right now, folks?
Yes.
Yes or no?
It's 11:08 p.m. where I am, so I
No,
can do
well,
on the
Simcha
other
could
side of your
rule.
Havdalah.
There's always music. There's always music.
There's music. So why don't we have the Susan Felix piece, and then hopefully Rabbi Sue is coming in here. Oh, Rabbi Chalfon is here. Excellent. And also can sing. Welcome, Baruch haba, Chaver, Baruch haba. And yeah.
Do we
So
want to do, I mean, Ami did mention.
Ami can do something.
We can start by just maybe just some moods, a song to just
Song
set our
let's-
kavanah.
Okay.
I think it's better to start with music and maybe do Susan later, like at the end.
Okay, we'll start.
Could
with
I just have the screen sharing ability? Laura?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
yes.
Yeah, okay, good. So we'll, and Moshe, you have also some songs too. Can't hear you, Karen. You're all muffled, Karen.
Okay.
So much better. Thank you, everyone. This feels so much better to be doing this.
All right. We can. I got overruled.
Yeah, this is the Minyan. You're not king
I was
here.
going to make a takana.
You think you're a rabbi?
So let's begin by just settling in. Can you hear me? Can I be heard? Yes?
Yes.
Ami,
No, okay. I just
Yes, Ami, we
I
can
wasn't
hear
sure
you.
if I was being you could hear me.
Yes.
Go ahead, Ami.
Okay. Let's just kind of settle in, following Lorelai's beautiful words, and find a place of comfort among the discomfort. Somewhere where you can hear the words that we're about to recite from Echa, and ask yourselves, Ayaka, where are we actually? Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shomer, Shomer Yisrael, Shomer, Shomer Yishmael, Shomer, Shomer Yishmael, Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad, Ve'al Yovad Yishmael ve'Yisrael, Ve'kol Yoshvei Tevel. Protect, protect Yisrael. Protect, protect Yisrael. Protect, protect Yishmael. Protect, protect Yishmael. Do not forsake Yisrael ve'Yishmael, and protect earth and all humanity. Yararai, rararai, rararam. Hararai, rararai, rararam. Yararai, yararai, yararai. Yararai, yararai, yararam. Yararai, 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 yararai. Hararai, yararam, yararai. Min ha-metzah karatiya, anani Rabbi Jonathan. You guys are muted if you're speaking.
We're not speaking and we know we're muted. Thank you.
Okay, shall we continue with another song? Okay,
Yes, please.
very good. I didn't know I am here and you are there and we are all together. Let's see what we have here. Al Naharot Bavel. Indeed, we were by the waters of Babylon, by the rivers of Babylon. Al Naharot Bavel, Al Naharot Bavel, Sham Yashavnu Gam Bachinu Bezochrenu et Zion, Bezochrenu et Zion, Al Naharot Bavel, Al Naharot Bavel, Sham Yashavnu Gam Bachinu Bezochrenu et Zion, Bezochrenu et Zion. Hailai rarai rarai, hailai yalarai rai, yararai rarai rai rai, yararai rai rai raram. Ay 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 ay. Al Naharot Bavel, Al Naharot Bavel, Sham Yashavnu Gam Bachinu Bezochrenu et Zion, Bezochrenu et Zion. Ay 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 ay, ay 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 ay, ay 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 We can just conclude the singing now, and we'll sing afterwards too, with the words to the nigun that Rabbi Jonathan was singing. We can just sing one or two verses. Eli Tzion be'yareha, kmo isha v'tzireha, v'chiftu lacha gurat sak, Al Baal Neureha, Alei Armon Asher Nitash, Be'ashmatzon Adareha, Ve'al Biyat Mecharfeel, Betoch Mikdash Chadarecha, וכתבו לה חגורת שק על בעל נעוריה, עלי גלות משרתי אל, מנימי שיר זמריה, ועל דמם אשר שופך כמו מימי יוריה, אלי ציון ועריה, כמו אישה וציריה, וכיפתו לה חגורת שק על בעל נעוריה, יאללה רי לה לה לה, יאללה לה לה, לה לה לה, יאללה לה לה לה, ay 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 yo.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome Rabbi Sue, Rabbi Moshe. Welcome everybody. We have a few more minutes. I guess we could do Sue's poem now if you're ready, Sue. You want to read it now? Because we have a few minutes
Sure.
before Havdalah. And Sue has written this amazing piece that I'd like you to hear. Incredible piece. Yes, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad I got in.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Echa for our time. Echa yashva badad ha'ira bati'am haita ke'almana. Echa, alas, he sits abandoned. Earth's abundance, once green and flourishing, is slowly disappearing. We have come through trying times, the great pause of distancing and hermiting. So many have lost lives, others suffer long-term consequences. Rushing, we shed our masks in celebration of our freedom. But safety is an illusion when variants lurk and our planet is suffering. As we emerge from this cursed blessing, have we learned our crucial lessons? 16 months of quieted highways, pollution cleared, human and animal lives saved. 16 months of quieted skyways, airplane travel ceased, vistas no longer concealed. Viewing the magnificence of the Himalayas, city skylines were suddenly revealed. Now we have resumed our toxic flying, as United proudly announces hundreds of new planes buying. Endless consuming our fruits we plunder, while thousands of children die daily of hunger. Fires threaten earth's parched and dry. We pack our go bags and watch the sky. Oceans rising, temperatures climbing, rainforest shrinking, Shekhinah crying. We weep without consolation. There is no comfort to refresh our souls. What will it take to wake us up to the destruction and planetary crisis? What will it take? Unbearable heat waves burn our skin like an oven. while our mother self-destructs. Our creeks and rivers have run dry, crops and fishes wither and die. Polarity, meanness, and hatred are everywhere. Racism, xenophobia, and injustice prevail. The joy in our hearts has ceased. Our dancing has turned into mourning. Anti-Semitism on the rise from the left and the right. All of our enemies have opened their mouths wide against us. Returning to our homeland after 2,000 years, cousins still divided in fear. On this day, we remember the siege of our holy Jerusalem and the destruction of our holy temples. On this day, we remember the start of the Crusades, the expulsions of our people from England, France, and Spain. On this day, we remember Kristallnacht and the Warsaw Ghetto. Is it our terrible destiny for history to repeat itself? Here in America, violence in our streets, 30 million adherents follow QAnon. We've lost our trust in our government. We've lost our trust in our journalists. We've lost our trust in our judicial system, in our electoral process, and even in science. Look and see, pain upon pain. Your sanctuary plundered, your planet overrun. What will it take to wake us up, to choose healing and love, compassion and cooperation? When will we heed this warning? When will we protect our future generations? Your brokenness is as vast as the sea. What can heal you? Let us sit alone in quiet reflection and let our souls fill with God's compassion. Hashivenu ya elecha v'nashuva, chadesh yameinu kikedem. Renew our days and return us to you. Help us reach awareness in the midst of somnolescence. Can you hear that song?
Can you hear that son?
Thank you, Rabbi Sue. Wow. Let's take a moment and just digest that for a moment before we hear from Rabbi Sara. She has a text that she'd like to read after, and actually, are we ready to begin yet? Okay, I think it's time. I can give my gezerah at this point to begin. Okay?
Well, doesn't the fast begin now? I think.
Yeah, so we'll say a quick Havdalah. We'll do the one line Havdalah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who has given us the ability to distinguish between Shabbos and the rest of the week as we enter Tisha B'Av. So we'll begin with Len and Rabbi Sara. I don't know what text you're going to read from. You can just read from what you have, okay?
No, I'm reading. I'm reading what's on the screen.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't have anything else. Good.
But if you want me to read at the end, we're going to have to adjust this screen share back to the beginning for me to get to English.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Go for it, Len.
Eka ישבה ודד, העיר רבתי עם, הייתה כאלמנה, רבתי וגויים, שרתי במדינות, הייתה למס, בחוט תבכה בלילה, ודמעתך על לקיה, אין לך מנקם מכל אוהביה, כל רואיה בגדו בך, היו לך לאויבים. גלתה יהודה מעוני ומרוב עבודה, היא ישבה וגויים, לא מצאה מנוע, כל רודפיה השיגוה בין המצרים. דרכי ציון אבלות, מבלי באי מועד, כל שעריה שוממים, כהניה נאנחים, בתולותיה נוגות והיא מלאך. היו צריה לראש אויביה שאלו, כי אדוני הוגה על רב פשעיה, עולליה הלכו שבי לפני צר. יצא מן בת ציון כה הדרך, היה שריה כאיילים לא מצאו בראה, וילכו ולא כוח לפני רודף. זוכרה ירושלים ימי ענייה ומרודיה, כל מחמודיה אשר היו מימי קדם. בנפול המח ביד צר, ואין עוזר לך, ראו השרים שחקו על משפטיה. חטא חטאה ירושלים, על כן לדינה הייתה. כל מבקריה כי זילוה, כי ראו עוולתך, גם היא נאנחה ותשוב אחור. טומאתך בשוליה, לא זוכרה הכרתך, ותרד פלאים, אין מנחם לך. ראה אדוני את עוני, כי הגדיל אויב. ידו פרס צר על כל מחמדיה, כי ראתה גויים באו מקדישך, אשר ציווית לא יבואו בקהל לך. כה עמך נאנקים מבקשים לחם, נתנו מחמדיהם באוהל להשיב נפש, ראה אדוני והביטה כי הייתי זוללה. לא עליכם כל עוברי דרך, הביטו וראו, אם יש מכאוב במכאובי, אשר עולל לי, אשר הוגה אדוני ביום חרון אפו. ממרום שלק אש בעצמותי וירדנה, פרס רשת לרגלי, השיבני עקור, נחנני שוממה כל היום דבר. נשקד על פשעי בידו, השתרגו, עלו על צווארי, הקשיל כוח. נתני אדוני בידי לא הוקלקום, צילה כה אבירי אדוני בקרבי, קרא עלי מועד לשבור בכורי. בת דרך אדוני לבתולת בת יהודה, על אלה אני בוקיע. עיני יורדה מים, כי רחק ממנו מנקם משיב נפשי. היו בני שוממים כי גבר אויב, פרשת ציון בידיה, אין מנחם לך. צבא אדוני ליעקב סביביו צרף, הייתה ירושלים לגידה ביניהם. צדיק הוא אדוני כפי הוא מריתי, שמעונה כה עמי, וראו מכאובי, בתולי ומכאורי הלכו ושכי שבי. קראתי למאהבי המה רמוני, כהני וזקני בעיר גבהו. כי ביקשו אוכל למו, וישיבו את נפשם. ראה אדוני כי צר לי מהי המרמרו, נפח ליבי בקרבי, כי מרו מריתי, מקודשיק לקרב בבית חמוות. שמעו כי ננחה אני, אין מנחם לי. כל אויבי שמעו רעתי, ששו כי אתה עשית. הביתה יום קראת, ויהיו כמוני. תבוא קוראתה לפניך ועולל למו כאשר עוללת לי על כל פשעי, כי רבות אחותיי וליבי דווי.
For the English, I need verses 22 at the bottom of the previous page. Oh, they're in there. They listened, I am moaning. There is no comforter for me. All my enemies listened for my evil doom. They rejoiced, for you did it. You brought the day you called for, and they will become like me. All their evil will come before you. Treat them like you treated me. For all my sins, for so much are my sighs, and my heart is sickened.
Yes. Chapter 2.
יאיר באפו אדוני את בת ציון, השליך משמיים ארץ תפארת ישראל. לא זכר אדם רגליו ביום אפו, בילה אדוני לא חמל. את כל נאות יעקב הרס בעברתו, מבצירי בת יהודה הגיע לארץ, הילל ממלכה ושריה. גדל בחרייך כל קרן ישראל, השיב אחור ימינו מפני אויב. ויבהר ביעקב כאש להבה, אכלה סביב. דרך קשתו כאויב, ניצב ימינו כצר, ויהרוג כל מחמדיהם. ואוכל בת ציון, שפך כאש חמתו. היה אדוני כאויב, בילה ישראל, בילה כל ארמונותיה, שיחד מבצרה. וירב בבת יהודה, תעניה ועניה, ויחמוס כגן שוקו, שיחד מועדו. שיקח אדוני בציון, מועד ושבת. וינץ בזמפו מלך וכהן. זנח אדוני מזבחו, ניער מקדשו. הזכיר ביד אויב חומות ארמונותיה. כל נתנו בבית אדוני כיום מועד. חשב אדוני להשחית חומת בת ציון. נטל קו, לא השיב ידו מבעליה. ויבל חיל וחומה יחדיו אומללו. טבעו בארץ שעריה, איבד ושיבר בריחיה. מלכה ושריה בגויים אין תורה, גם נביאיה ומצאו חזון מאדוני. ישבו לארץ ידמו זקני בת ציון, העלו עפר על ראשם, חגרו סכין. הורידו לארץ ראשן בתולות ירושלים. כלו בדמעות עיניי, המרמרו מעי. נשפך לארץ כבדי על שבר בת עמי. בעטף עולל ויונק ברחובות קריה. לאמותם יאמרו איי דגן ויין. בהתעטפם כהלל ברחובות עיר. בהשתפך נפשם אל חיק אמותם. מה עידך מה אדם אלך, הבת ירושלים. מה אשווה לך באנחמך, בתולת בת ציון. כי גדול קיים שברך מרפלך. נביאייך חזו לך שב וטפל, ולא גילו על עוונך להשיב שביתך. ויחזו לך נשות שווא ומדוכים. ספקו עלייך כפיים כל עוברי דרך. שרקו ויניעו ראשם על בת ירושלים. הזאת העיר שיאמרו כלילת יופי, מסוש לכל הארץ. פצו עלייך פיהם כל אויבייך, שקרו ויחרקו שן, אמרו בי לנו. אך זה היום שקיווינו מצאנו ראינו. עשה אדוני אשר זמם, ביצע אמרתו אשר ציווה מימי קדם. חרס ולא חמל, וישמח עלייך אויב, הרים קרן שרייך. צעק ליבם אל אדוני, חומות בציון, הורידי חנכה דמעה, יומם ולילה, אל תתני פוגעת לך, אל תדום בת עינך. קומי רוני ולילה, לראש השמורות, שפכי חמים ליבך, נוכח פני אדוני. שאי עליו כפייך, על נפש עוללייך, עטופים ברעב בראש כל חוצות. ראה אדוני וחביתה, למי עוללתי כה. אם תאכלנה נשים פריים, עוללי טיפוחים, אם יחרב במקדש אדוני כהן ונביא. שכבו לארץ חוצות, נער וזקן, בתולתי ובחורי נפלו בחרב. הרגת ביום אפיך, טבחת לא חמלת. תקרא כיום מועד מגורי מסביב, ולא היה ביום אף אדוני פליט ושריד, אשר טיפחתי ורביתי, אוי וכילם.
Young and old, my females and my males, they fell by the sword. You murdered in the day of your anger. You slaughtered, you had no pity. You would call like a festival day for my neighbors from all around, and so in Yud Hey Vav Hey's day of anger, there weren't any escaped or remaining, which I had nursed and raised. My enemy finished them all.
אני הגבר לעני בשבר, חברתו אותי. נהג וילד, ושק ולאור, רק מי ישוב יחפוך ידו, או היום. הילה בשרי ואורי, שיבר עצמותיי, ונעלי, ויקח ראש ותלאה, ומחשקים הושיבני, כי מתי עולם גדר, בידי ולא אצא, הכביד נחשתי, גם כי אזעק ואשבע, דתם תפילתי. דרכי בזזית, נתיבתי איבה, דברב הוא לי, ארי ומסתרי. דרכי סורר, ויפשחני שמני שומם. דרכשתו ויציבני, כמטרה לחץ. הביא בכלוכותיי, בני השפעתו. הייתי שיחוך לכל עמי, נגינתם כל היום. השביעני במרורים, הרבני לענה. ויגרס בחצץ שני, הכבישני באפר, ותזנח. משלום נפשי נסיתי טובה, ויאמר עבד נצחי, תאכלתי מהוויה. זכור אני ומרודי לענה וראש וראש. זכור תזכור ותסתיח עלי נפשי. זאת אשיב על ליבי, על כן אוכיל. חסדי אדוני כי לא תמנו, כי לא חלו רחמיו. חדשים לבקרים רבה אמונתך. חלקי הוויה מרה נפשי, על כן אוכיל לו. טוב אדוני לי כבב לנפש תדרשנו. טוב יכיל ודומם לתשועתי, לתשועת אדוני. טוב לגבר כי יישא, או לוין אורי. ישב בדד וידום, כי נטל עליו. ייתן ביעפר פיהו, אולי יש תקווה. ייתן למכה ולכי, יספר בחרפה. כי לא יזנק לעולם אדוני, כי אם חוקה וריחם, כרוב חסדיו. כי לא ינם ליבו, ויגע בני איש. לדכא תחת רגליו כל אסירי הארץ. לחטות משפט גבר נגד פני עליון. לעוות אדום בריבו, אדוני לא רע. מזה אמר ותהי, אדוני לא ציווה. מפי עליון לא תצא הרעות והטוב. מה יתאונן אדם חי, גבר על חטאו. נכפשה דרכנו ונחקרה, ונשובה עד אדוני. נישא לבבינו על כפיים, אל בשמיים. נחנו פשענו ומרינו, אתה לא סלחת. סקת ביעף תדרפנו, חרגתה לא חמלת, שקותה בנהלך, מעבור תפילה, שכי ומאוס תשימני בקרב העמים, פצו עלינו פיהם כל אויבינו, פחד ופחד היה לנו, השעית והשבר, על גמים תרד עיניי, על שבר בת עמי. עיניי נברא ולא תדמה, מעין חפוגות. עד ישקיף וירא אדוני משמיים. איני עוללה נפשי מקורבנות יראי. סוד צדוני כציפור, אויב חינם. שמחו בבור חיי, וידעו אבן לי. צפו מים על ראשי, אמרתי, נגזרתי. קראתי שמך הוויה מבור תחתיות, קולי שמעת תעלם, אוזנך לרבתה לשבעתי. קרבתי ביום קרחך, אמרת אל תירא. רבתי אדוני, ריבי נפשי, גלת חיי. ראית אדוני אהבתי, שפטה משפטי. ראית כל נקמתם, כל מחשבתם לי. שמעת חרפתם אדוני, כל מחשבתם עלי. שפטי קמי בהגיונם, עלי כל היום. שיבתם וקימתם הביטה, אני מנהיגתם. תשיב אליהם גמול אדוני, כמעשה ידיהם. תיתן להם מנהיגת לב, תעלתך להם. תרדוף יף ותשמידם, מתחת שמי אדוני. שמי אדוני.
Can you back up just a little bit? They have plotted against me. You have heard all the insults. They have plotted against me. They have thought, they have conceived, they have done. They have carried out their wicked tasks against me. The talk of the ones who attack me, their muttering all day long, their thoughts all night, their dreams, their wicked ways have come from the muttering all day long. Look at them sitting or rising, lying down, walking in the way, lying in their beds of shame. I am the burden of their satire. You will requite them, O Eternal, for all they have done. You will blind their vision. Your curse will be upon them, and you will chase them angrily and crush them out of life. You will chase them in their dreams and in their waking, in their eating, in their sleeping, in their eyes and in their loins. You will chase them angrily. You will crush them out of life.
Echa Yuam zahav yishne haketem hatov tishtapechna avnei kodesh berosh kol chutzot b'nei Tzion hayekarim hamesulaim bahapaz Eicha nechshavu lenivlei cheres Maaseh yedei yotzer Gam tanim chalzu shad heiniku gurehen Bat ami leachzar kai einim bamidbar Davak leshon yonek el chiko batzama Olalim sha'alu lechem pores ein lahem Ha'ochlim lama'adanim nashamu bachutzot Ha'emunim alei tola chibaku ashpatot Vayigdal avon bat ami mechatat Sedom Ha'afucha chemeraga velo chaluva yahadayim Zaku nezireha misheleg tzachu mechalav Ad muetzem mipninim sapir gizratam Chashach mishachor ta'aram Lo nikru bachutzot Tzafar oram al atzmaham Yavesh hayacha etz Tovim hayu chalalei cherev Mechalalei rav Shehem yazuvu medukarim Mitnuvot Sadai Yedei Nashim Rachmaniyot Bishlu Yaldehen Hayu levarot lahamo Beshever bat ami Ki la yud hei vav hei et chamato Shafach charon apo Vayatzet eish betzion Vatochal yesodoteha Lo he'eminu malchei eretz Kol yoshvei tevel Ki yavo tsar ve'oyev B'sha'arei Yerushalayim Mechatot nevieha Avonot kohaneha Hashovchim bekirba dam tzadikim It's because of the sins and the wayward ways of those leaders that lead us astray that the blood of the righteous has been spilled. Na'u ivrim bachutzot Negoalu bahadam Belo yuchlu yigu bilavushehem Suru tamei karulamo Suru al tihigau Ki natsu gam na'u Amru bagoyim Lo yosifu lagur Pnei yud hei vav hei chilkam Lo yosif lehabitam Pnei chohanim lo nasau Uskenim lo chananu Odenu tichlena einenu El ezratenu havel Betzipiatenu tzipinu El goy lo yoshia צעדו צעדינו מלכת ברחובותינו, קרב קיצנו, מלאו ימינו כי בקיצנו, קלים היו רודפינו, מנשרי שמיים, על ההרים דלקונו, במדבר ערבו לנו. רוח אפינו משיח י"ה ו"ה נלכד בשחיתותם, אשר אמרנו בצילו נחיה וגויים. סיסי ושמחי בת אדום יושבת בארץ עוץ, גם עלייך תעבור כוס, תשכרי ותתארי. תם עוונך בציון לא יוסיף להגלותך, פקד עוונך בת אדום גילה על חטאותייך.
They trapped the king, the Eternal's choice breath of our lives, of whom we said, under his reign we shall hold out among the nations, under his reign shall we hold out among the nations. Rejoice and be glad in your homeland, O maiden Edom. But the cup will come round to you and leave you drunk and disheveled. Zion, your guilt is over and gone, no more exile for you. But Edom, your guilt shall be punished, your sins laid bare.
We gotta turn on we gotta unmute you. You're unmuted now.
Okay. Perek Chamishi, the fifth and final chapter of Echa. Zechor Adonai mehayalanu, habitu re'ei et cherpateinu, nachlateinu nefcha lezarim bateinu lanochrim. Yetomim hayinu ein abimotenu ke'almanot. Meimenu b'chesef shahatinu, etzeinu b'mechir yavo. Al tzavareinu nirdafenu, yaganu lo unach lanu. Mitzrayim natanu yad Ashur lisboah lachem. Avotenu chata'u einam, anachnu avonotehem zavalenu. Avadim mashaluvanu porek ein miyadam. Benafsheinu navi lachmeinu mipnei cherev hamidbar. Oreinu kitanur nichmaru mipnei zal'achod ra'av. Nashim Betzion inu betulot b'arei Yehuda, sarim beyadam nitlu, panei zakenim lo nehedaru, bachurim tahon nasa'u, une'arim ba'etz kashalu, zkenim mish'ar shavatu, Bachorim minaginatam, Shabbat mesos libeinu, nepach le'evel mecholeinu, nafla ateret rosheinu, כי נא לנו, כי חטאנו. על זה היה דבר ליבנו, על אלה חשכו עינינו. על הר ציון ששמם שועלים הלכו בו. אתה אדוני לעולם תשב, כסאך לדור ודור. למה לנצח תשכחנו, תעזבנו לאורך ימים. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם. כי אם מעוז מאסתנו, קצבת עלינו עד מאוד. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו כקדם.
Please back up to verse 20 in English. Why would you forget us forever? Why would you forget us forever? Why would you forget us forever? Abandon us, abandon us, abandon us. For the span of time's days, turn us, Elohim, turn us, Yud-He-Vav-He, turn us toward you, and we will turn. Renew our days, renew our days, renew our days like long before. For if loathing, you should loathe us, be enraged over us so very much. Turn us, Yud-He-Vav-He, turn us, Elohim, turn us. Turn us, O our God, turn us toward you, and we will turn. Turn us, Yud-He-Vav-He, toward you. Turn us, Elohim, toward you. Turn us, O divine, our Creator, our Father, our Mother, turn us toward you, and we will turn. Make our days new again. Make our souls new again. Make our minds, make our limbs, make our hearts, make our words, make our days new again, like dawn long ago.
Like all those that participated in this mitzvah of reading Eicha, to know that we are with you in grief. We're all in grief together tonight for the earth, for our souls, our brokenness. We stand together in grief and brokenness. Let's take a deep breath, and maybe Reb Ami, you can lead us in a Litzion. Let's take a deep breath, folks, just to be in this place.
ציון ויראה כמו אישה בציריה וכתבו לך גורת שק על בעל נעוריה עלי ארמון אשר ניטש בהשמצון עדריה ועל ביאת מחרפל בתוך מקדש חדריה אלי ציון ויראה כמו אישה וציריה וחיפתו לה חגורת שק ועל בעל נעוריה עלי גלות משרתל מני מישיר זמרך ועל דמם אשר שופך כמו מי יאוריה אלי ציון ויראה כמו אישה וציריה וחיפתו לה חגורת שק על בעל נעוריה ילה לילה ילה רי 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 הילה רי 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 רם ילה ילה רי רי
Thank you, Reb Ami. Even though we struggle with the imagery of this terribly difficult misogynist imagery and tragic imagery of the woman wounded and bleeding, you know, we can relate. And the earth is like this. And I've asked my colleague, Rabbi Moshe Chalfon, to do a little teaching, which is coming up right now. Rabbi Moshe, wonderful teaching for Rabbi Dessler. Then we'll have some sharing tonight, some more singing. We'll go on until we agree not to go on, okay? Let's put it that way, okay?
On Zoom.
On Zoom, you can,
Let's get
you'll
specific
go.
here.
And Reb Yaakov, if you have a song appropriate for this evening, Reb Yaakov, my colleague and buddy and chaver, please bring a song too, okay? Buddy, chaver.
You need to let me be able to share this. I can't.
So let's see, Lorelai needs to.
Lorelai needs to do it. She's the main.
You've been made a co-host. You can share.
Oh, okay. Good. Baruch Hashem.
Hold on.
All right.
She's host.
Well, I first have to say again that it's wonderful to see all the faces. I wrote beforehand that I didn't feel well, and now I feel better. I got heat stroke or something.
Ironic, yeah.
And I mean, the collective wisdom and talent in this room is just amazing. And there are people more learned than me in terms of Chassidus and Musar and so on. I discovered this piece, and I for all I know, one of you posted this. I put together, I don't know if you can see me, I put together years ago a booklet for Tisha B'Av that included all the songs and things that you have. And I'm not going to read very many of them, but a few of them, many of the readings that can you hear me well? I got the mic on. Many of the readings that I read deal with the question of why do we do this? Why do we put ourselves through this punishment year after year? One is a brief reading that says every year Rabbi Avram of Chechanov would buy a new copy of the keynote and then throw it away. And every time they said, why are you throwing it away? Because the Mashiach will come next year, I won't need it, right? And then some of you remember when I taught the Amichai poetry class, I made a piece by Amichai, says, you know, oh God, full of mercy. If you weren't so full of mercy, maybe there should be some mercy in the world instead of just in you. So there's a lot of anger behind this holiday. But I just discovered who this rabbi was, Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler. Let me get it big enough so everybody can see it. He was a teacher from Ponevez Yeshiva, who then moved to England, and then later on to Bnei Brak. He's the kind of guy that most of us would not have met, you know, but Zalman would have known. So he wrote a collection of his material called Michtav Eliyahu, and and he died in the year that I was born. So maybe I have some strange connection there. So he was a mashgiach ruchani, a spiritual counselor for the Ponevezh Yeshiva. And so the preface, I'll be very brief as I can, but because we have Rabbi Simcha, we have a lot of you who are therapists, I'm going to give you just a kind of an interpretation before we read the piece. Have you ever met people, yourselves included, who are so depressed or so gone or so downtrodden as to be like the kid in the 400 blows, beaten down? And this piece, he calls that the Churban, right? There's nothing left. The temple has been destroyed. But for most of us, we live in a frame of mind that is of exile. So here's the piece. What does it mean when we speak of the Shekhinah resting upon Israel? It is finding God in our innermost heart. Thus, our teachers of blessed memory taught us concerning the verse which you all know, V'shachanti b'tocham, right? And I shall dwell in them, from Exodus, where they talk about the building of the Mishkan. So then these Hasidic guys and these teachers he wasn't Hasidic, but he was, very close to it, the Orthodox world. They were like therapists. So he says, even when a person is experiencing a great eclipse of the soul, which we call the condition of Tuma. Now, if you notice in the text, there were many places where it said, you are tameh, you're impure. So we are living in a state of Tuma, of impurity. But there's this innermost holy spark, and that's why I think he's really Hasidic, but he was not in that Hasidic world. So there's this spark that's latent within every heart of Israel, and so that's what the promise is. But when we behave poorly, he says, and get comfortable in this state of Tumah, we forge an iron wall that separates ourself, I would say our higher self, from the holy point that is alive in the heart. And then we cause the holy spark to fall into Tumah until it's useless, right? So, but there still is hope. You can still touch somebody who's depressed, angry, fed up. You find, I once worked with somebody who was a songwriter, and she was really in bad shape. So I went and I sang her songs to her, So this paragraph is very meaningful. This is the meaning of the words Shekhinah in exile, that the innermost point of the human is not revealed and illuminated, but hidden and darkened. There is an exile of the Shekhinah of the individual. And that's what we are experiencing in this holiday, in this commemoration. And there's also an exile of the Shekhinah of the group, when the nation as a whole pushes aside its holy spark through gross materiality and ignorance. This is the worst condition that a person can be found in, when the thread of one's spiritual life and attachment to holiness is almost severed, approaching total loss. And then, so he died in 1953, he lived in England, he lived in Israel. I think he could be talking about today in this country. He could be talking about a lot of places back then too. So then he says, this is the worst condition when it's totally spread. It's the Churban. It's the destruction of the temple. So this person is not just in exile. Their whole temple, their whole, everything's gone. But, and this is the spitz here, one who feels the exile of the Shekhinah within and feels the pain even to the point of tears because of the inability to connect with the sacred name, right? This is itself a tikkun. And then, so this is the passage from Ta'anit in the Talmud. Whoever mourns Jerusalem will deserve to see her happiness. So, what he says is, this means that even now they can see the tikkun of their innermost heart and can rejoice over that. How I see it, and I imagine some of you might as well, is that this is why we keep on doing this crazy activity. We're not just talking, of course, about the temple, first or second, or the Crusades, or the as you know, some of you know, the exiles from, we were kicked out of England and France and Spain all on the same day. I mean, not the same day, but different years. And then the Nazis planned the destruction of one of the ghettos. So many things that happened karmically, cosmically on Tisha B'Av. But this is why, he says, we continue to weep generation after generation. Through this pain lies the road to tikkun, healing. We feel the pain for the spiritual destruction within the heart, and this is the path of redemption. So I almost don't have to interpret it, but and open for anybody to comment. It's really what we might say is, if you're crying, you're healing. Yeah. If you're angry, you're healing. You know, if you're going to somebody and you're hugging them, I'm looking at Simcha smiling at me, but even though this is just a picture, if you're working with somebody or you yourself are in pain and somebody there he is. If somebody reaches out to you and hugs you, even if you can't stop the crying, that's a tikkun hanefesh, and it's a tikkun of the nations as well. So, what do you guys think?
Very good. Go ahead. Let's have a little. Let's open it up, okay? With your permission, Rabbi Moshe. Anybody have some thoughts about this?
Is this about anything to do with Tisha B'Av or?
Yes. Well, I mean, I put it in there every year. I feel like he didn't address it related to Tisha B'Av, but why? The question is being asked: why year after year do we continue to think about and talk about the exile? This is not to me now. Tisha B'Av is not a holiday about only the temples. It's a holiday, or it's a day about Tom Petty's line. You don't have to live like a refugee. There you go. Yaakov's going. Being refugees and dealing with asylum people and our own, but we're all in exile from HaKadosh Baruch Hu and from our higher selves. So
I don't know why you believe that.
What?
As a totality, I don't know.
Who's saying that?
Karen, road card.
What? I don't want to be in exile, but I guess I don't want to argue the fine points. What I feel is that the tension, like a Bob Marley song, right, or By the Waters of Babylon, or any of these kinds of. So when you're in pain, that is also a kind of healing. As far as the human condition, yes, I think the human condition is that we are in exile, and we always, like I got to quote people again, Joni Mitchell, we want to get back to the garden.
Great. I have to recommend Rabbi Dr. Arnie Eisen's book, Galut.
Mm.
On the condition of Galut is a paradigmatic theme in Jewish history, Jewish thought. Wrote in the 80s, a great book. It's called Galut, Arnie Eisen. And there are many other books on. Any other thoughts on Moshe Chalfon's comments, different points of view? We also have a nigun that Sarah wants to share, and other music. We have other music tonight as well.
I want to share something different.
Yeah, okay. First Karen, and then Marty.
Okay, I just want to say that I've had a lot of trouble through my life with Tisha B'Av, and especially because the tune to Echa, the Nusach, just touches me in a way other things don't. So related to what I've learned from Reb Zalman about how difficult it is to go to the places of pain, that we need specific occasions to go to those places of pain and reminders to go to those places of pain. That is one of the things that Tisha B'Av provides me with on all levels, Jewish, communal, personal, familial, friends, people in the midst of dying, deaths, all the losses, the big losses, the little losses, the uncontrollable losses. And so what I did this year now while we were having Echa chanted was, one of the things I do is I edit the English translations of Yizkor books. And so I started to translate another Yizkor book, the book of Sokol, which is now in Ukraine. And just the first line from the forward, which, and imagine, I'll do the Echad sound. It is these that I remember, and for them pour out my soul. The heart drips with blood, and there is bitter weeping when one recognizes that we are in the process of erecting memorial headstone to the sacred congregation of Sokol and vicinity that's been wiped off the face of the earth and no longer exists. With a sacred trembling, let us bow our heads, unite with those noble souls, thousands of personalities, blood of our blood, flesh of our flesh, uprooted, vanished, no longer here, and all that remains is the memory of them.
Wow. Zichronam Livracha, may all our ancestors, our relatives who died in the Holocaust be remembered tonight too. That's most of us in this room, almost everyone in this room.
Yeah.
So I would like to recall that. And Karen, thank you. That was extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. Makes me want to, I don't know what to do with it. But let's have Marty and then Reb Simcha, Raphael, because Simcha has to go to sleep. It's late there, but Marty, go first.
So I understand and concur with the notion of the only way we can heal ourselves and have this tikkun is by going into our pain, going into the hurt, going into all those places that are wounded, that have gone into the subconscious. And so I see Tisha B'Av as like you said, Rabbi, a kind of therapy session, group therapy session. So I ask myself, listening to Echa, I ask, how much here is helping me have a closer connection to my God place, to Kadosh Baruch Hu? How much is helping me and how much is continuing to make me feel unworthy? The part that helps me by going into my pain and sadness and grief over what's happened, and especially what's happening now to our planet, that helps me. But to hear how missing of the mark I was, and having that repeated and repeated and repeated, makes me, I check in and I don't feel better about myself. I don't feel more godliness. I feel less that way. So I probably would have a renewal version of Echa.
Okay. I like to hear it, Marty. You should write it.
And edit out the misogynistic parts too.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear it. Thank you. Shukayach. Simcha.
I don't know if this is a renewal version of it, but as some of you know, I spend a lot of time thinking about and swimming in the reality of dying and death and grief and loss. And my general Torah is that we Jews do, when we do grief with intentionality, we do grief very well.
Very well.
But coming up to Tisha B'Av this year was especially hard. I want to mention with Aliyata Neshama, my nephew died tragically 9 days ago. Just this afternoon, there was a scattering of the ashes. That's happened to be on Shabbos. That says something about his family. And so I was resistant to entering into Tisha B'Av, but in a conversation with one of my chaverim just before Shabbos, it's almost like I got the zen of Tisha B'Av. The whole story of the collectivity of our grief is transformed with the one pasuk, Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. We can swim in the tragedy and the trauma of grief, and sometimes we do it too much, sometimes it just happens whether we like it or not. But the transformative pasuk that I want to invite each of us to take in our own lives, but that's sort of what I do with my own individual grief work. You do the grief work, you can be transformed, is that we even in facing the deepest darkness of loss and pain, we say, may we be renewed as days of old, as in our Kadmenu is like our origin, our essence. May we go back to the fullness of who our essence is. So as I go back to the essence of sleep consciousness coming on soon, I bless us that this year on Tisha B'Av and each way in our own family, and particularly Eliyahu ben Menachem Ve'edel, who left the world of his own choice, may he be guided through those dark spheres into light. So what do you say? You say, you don't say anything. We always used to leave shul after Echa, nobody would say anything. So you don't, what do you say? You say Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Erev Tov, Laila Tov,
May no more young people take their lives
Thank
this
you.
way.
Amen,
Thank you. Good night.
amen, amen. Thank you. And it's nice to have a community where I see all of these different threads of 40 years of my life in all of these Hollywood squares. Moshe Halfon was my neighbor back in Berkeley, and Barry Barkin and I would sit in the hot tub together way back when. No, in Philadelphia. Moshe was nailing it. Anyways, I'll be back. Lila Tov.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks.
Let's go.
That's where we're going to go when we die, Sam. We're going to go to a great hot tub in the sky.
Amen. Amen.
Oh yeah. So any more comments about grief, about Echa, about this particular? Thank you, Sue. Thank you, Sue, very much for your beautiful, powerful reading. We really are grateful for it. I would like you all to see that it's published. It's amazing. It's extremely timely. We wish you much more.
Thank you, Rabbi Jonathan.
Kadesh. Continue to
Thank
write
you.
for us and dream for us and think and lead us. Rabbi.
Thank you for honoring me and asking me to be with you. It was a true honor and a joy to see all of you and be amongst you.
We'll
Good
see
night.
you. Good night.
Yeah, everybody have a meaningful
And
fast.
Gloria's here. Let's have Gloria and then Lorelei.
Reb Yankel has
Yankel. But I think Gloria's first up here. It's
However you want to do it, man.
I want you to sing.
You are very kind, often calling on me first. Is that because you wonder how much longer I'll be around?
No, you'll survive all of us at this rate. God will. Well, I hope.
Because of the time zone and because of kavod.
Time zone and kavod for being our wonderful elder. Yes.
Yeah, definitely kavod, Gloria.
Yeah.
I have stayed with the readings, starting with the ones in the Midwest in my local temple, shul, and then coming here and swimming in the words, but at this moment, for me particularly,
There's a freeze.
pardon me, it has
Hello.
not it has not brought me to the ultimate, to being within the tears and the horror. I think because there are so many moments that I am in that every day of my life. Living with it, not my own physicality, but indeed standing by the continual aging of my 60-year-old daughter and being with her in that place. And that's where she is. And I can witness it. I can love her. I can love the world. And I'm grateful for this process I'll stay with it for at least the rest of the night. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you, Gloria.
Yankel?
Yeah. So thank you. And I just came from a little Zoom of my own to New Mexico and Colorado. So it's an honor to be here with all these wonderful faces. Karen looks spectacular in your directness, honesty, and beauty. Had to say it. Oy. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, lie, lie. Lie, lie, lie. Shomer Yisrael Shmo Sheris Yisrael V'al Yovad Yisrael V'al Yovad Beita Yisrael Ha-Omerim 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 Shema Yisrael Ha-Omerim 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 Shema Yisrael. Beschützer von Israel, hitem Scheiris von Israel und verdarb nicht Israel, oi verdarb nicht Beta Israel. Wir alle sagen, wir alle singen, wir alle beten Shema Yisrael. Wir alle sagen, wir alle singen, wir alle beten Shema Yisrael. Guardian of Israel, protect these remnants of Israel. Oh, you don't destroy Israel. Don't deny, destroy Beta Yisrael. Do we not all say, do we not all say, do we not all pray Shema Yisrael? Do we not all say, do we not all sing, do we not all pray with our last breath? Shema Yisrael.
Wow. Oy, 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 oy. Shkoyach, Rabbi Yankel. We love you. We grieve with you. Thank you. Beautiful. We have a wonderful nigun coming up from our guest, Sarah, here with Sophie and I and Reb Tzvi and Alana. Take it away.
I feel so grateful to be here. Rabbi Tsvi invited me, and I wanted to sing a nigun that I wrote quite a long time ago. But Rabbi Halfon, I was so inspired by what you shared, and it really resonates with me deeply. And I just want to do a teeny share about myself, which is that I grew up Chatzi Hasidic. I grew up half-time in Chabad, which is a complicated story that I won't get into, but the half of the year that I was there was not the half of the year with Tisha B'Av. And I had a childhood that involved a lot of grief, but it was what we call disenfranchised grief, the grief that's not felt. And there's a lot of that in this world. So it took me decades to understand the importance of bringing in and feeling grief. And it's not until the last couple of years that I've been coming back to renewal and experiencing Tisha B'Av, and the tears just pour out of me. And it's so beautiful that we have a place for that and that we understand that. So it feels really beautiful to be here with everyone. And I want to share this song with you that for me is about exactly what that article was about. It's about how we have to break through the klipa. We have to break through that external shell in order to reconnect with our divinity and the oneness. So it goes like this. Oh, yo, 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 oh, yo, 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 oh, yo, 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 oh, yo, 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 I thought I knew who I was, thought I knew who I was, I thought I knew, but now I'm lost, I thought I knew, but now I'm lost, oh, yo, hi, yo, mo, oh, yo, hi, yo, mo, yo, take me, come on now, break me, take me apart, take me, come on now, break me, take me apart.
Right. Oh, yeah. Wow. I don't know if I could take so much breakage, but this is a great gift. Thank you, Sarah. What a gewaltig nigun from your heart. Thank you. All of us speak from our hearts. All of us. We all bless each other from our hearts. We're with each other in our woundedness, our brokenness. We all love each other that way. That's the minyan, okay? That's the minyan. We love each other in our woundedness. We don't react from our woundedness. We love each other in our woundedness. We don't react from it. So let's hear any more thoughts. We really appreciated all the readers tonight, and Reb Sara, beautiful rendering of the English, beautiful, beautiful rendering. Any more thoughts, Lorelei, before we finish tonight?
Say something.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to say something. Sorry. Go ahead, Marty. I'll speak after you.
Okay. I very much appreciated tonight as a culmination of this process in the last 3 weeks of looking internally and understanding that everything falls apart sometime. And sometimes it's to be replaced with something new. Sometimes it's to be replaced with the components of what just fell apart. But it takes a lot of energy and desire to take a look at those parts of myself and really let the pain and the grief of my experiences rise to the surface so that I know that part of life exists also, which also helps me to be more grateful during the general days of the year. So I really appreciate this process, and I really appreciate the way everybody here who sang or contributed or read a poem helped to comfort me in a way that I can grieve even more a bit. And I am so lucky, if you take a look at my name, that my parents named me Menachem Chaim, the comforter of life. So I have a special affinity to these days. That's it.
Go Rabami.
No, I think Lorelei was going
Lorelei.
to.
I'm sorry, Lorelei.
I'll
Start
follow.
Lorelei.
Yeah, I was going to say something about Tisha B'Av. Is like I said earlier when we started, it's the rock bottom of the Jewish year in terms of it's as low as we go, but it's also the birthday of Mashiach.
Mhm.
Said that Mashiach was born on Tisha B'Av, and this has been it is known, Khaleesi, like in Hasidus, it's part of Hasidus understanding of Tisha B'Av, and it comes from the source of this is a story in the Jerusalem Talmud, Barachot 2:4 says, on the day that the Holy Temple was destroyed, a Jew was plowing his field when his cow suddenly called out. An Arab was passing by and heard the low of the cow. Said the Arab, Jew, unyoke your cow, free the stake of your plow, for your holy temple has now been destroyed. The cow then lowed a second time. Said the Arab, Jew, yoke your cow, reset the stake of your plow, for the Redeemer has now been born. This is the story in the Talmud, that this belief that the Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av is extrapolated from. It's such an interesting story. It's an hour to take the whole thing apart, but the point is that when one is at one's lowest point, whether that's nationally, spiritually, individually, the true rock bottom, a terrible truth appears, that if we are able to face it, to express it, to own it, to absorb it, it changes us. And this is the beginning of Mashiach. This is the beginning of salvation. This is the beginning of redemption. This is why it said that Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. In Jerusalem, the ladies in Jerusalem about 3:00 on Tisha B'Av afternoon start sweeping their floors and washing their floors with water. You hear everybody spongia. Okay, that's how we clean our floors, right? So why are they cleaning their floors? Because they're getting ready for Mashiach, because he's coming. This is the thought. So I just want to put that forward about that. If anybody here has ever actually experienced their own personal rock bottom, and I have my own self, that moment, that terrible, terrible confrontation with a reality that you would do anything in the world not to face, but you have to face it. That's the beginning of change. That's the beginning of redemption. So that's what I have to say. Yalla Mashiach.
Yalla.
Wow. I'd like to just follow exactly on Lorelei's coattails. That this is the time that I personally pulled down off the shelf Rabbi Alan Lew, Zichrono Livracha, his book, This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared. Right. That talks precisely about what Lorelei just said, that Tisha B'Av is the forced facing of trauma, of our trauma, and those of us who delude ourselves into not facing our own trauma and our own wounds, we read about our house is in fact broken now. The temple is fallen. And it is from now until next Tisha B'Av that the journey really begins, to reconstruct that house, our fragile selves, to help heal our wounds. This is a process that culminates at Yom Kippur and then finishes again at the reconstruction of our fragile inner Sukkot, at the holiday of Sukkot. So the process of tikkun that we've been learning about tonight and the birth of Mashiach begins now, and I've been forced to face those wounds, even if I'd rather not. And that's the wisdom of Tisha B'Av. And let us build our homes over this coming year, rebuild our temple in strength and courage.
Amen. Yibane, 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 Hamidash, Yitzion, Yitzion, Yitzion Temare, Yibane, 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 Hamidash, Yitzion, Yitzion, Yitzion Temare. Vesham nashir shir adat ovinanana ale. Vesham nashir shir chadash ovinanana ale. Yibane, Yibane, Yibane ami. Yitzion, Yitzion, Yitzion Temale, Yibane, Yibane, Yibane Hamikdash, Yitzion, Yitzion, Yitzion Temale. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 Yibane, Yibane, Yibane Hamikdash.
Jonathan, in order to empower that song with some meaning and strength,
I'll translate it.
Oh, please.
Yes, the temple will be rebuilt. Yitzion Timale, the city of Zion, will be filled up again with joy. V'sham nashir shir chadash, we will sing a new song. Okay, we'll sing a new song, Marty. Everybody here in this room that has been suffering, that's been broken, you'll sing a new song when, as we learned brilliantly tonight, when we confront our trauma, our pain, we inhabit it for a while. So I want to bless everybody that they do exactly what we've been talking about here. What a great sharing tonight. And I bless everybody. Hiratzon milfanecha. May the one.
Closing.
Yeah. I'd like to close right now, unless Sarah, you have something to say first.
We have a video. We have a video.
Oh, we have the video.
Something brief first.
Yeah, sure.
Off,
yeah,
keep
sure.
Prayers up for Sandy Leader. He's back.
Yes, Sandy. Yes, please.
Secondly, speaking of rebirth and Mashiach and all that, my daughter Leah is due to give birth to her second child in the next week or so. So please send her a prayer for an easy, safe birth.
We will. And Barry, we want to send you a brachas, my friend, for healing.
Barry, I would like to give a bracha to the community.
Yes, please. Maybe we should. Do you want to do that now or after we see the Susan video? What would you like to do first?
I'd like to do it now.
Okay, brother.
I would like to bless us all that we go forth from Tisha B'Av with the spirit of Mashiach, with the spirit of renewal, with the spirit of healing, with the spirit of more than the spirit, with the spirit being translated to the action, to the strength, to bring about a great healing in the world
this year from the depth of our pain, from the depth of our brokenness, so that indeed Mashiach is born on this day. Amen.
Amen.
We have a really special 14-minute video, which was made last year on Tisha B'Av. Last year, coming out of Tisha B'Av, Rabbi Jonathan and Susan Felix did together this wonderful program. And this is a clip from it where Susan Felix explains and gives over her Torah of her blessing bowls. And we just were blessed by our wonderful Barry Barkin, who we love so much and who we are all praying for a complete refuah shalema for. And now, of course, we all know that Susan Felix is suspended between worlds in a very extraordinary way. And I would like you guys to watch this with us. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Share sound.
There's a vigil you can sign up for if you want.
Yeah.
Stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and rebuild right here. Stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and rebuild right here. What is gone, we build upon. What is gone, we build upon. Stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and rebuild right here. Stone by stone, tear by tear, we release and rebuild right here. Holy ground is all around. Holy ground is all around.
Thank you, Kashira. Welcome, everybody. By the waters of Babylon, by the waters of Babylon, we sat down and wept for you, Zion. We sat down and wept for you, Zion. We remember you, Zion. We remember you, Zion. Welcome, everybody, to this amazing gathering of a transition, metamorphosis out of Tisha B'Av. I'm so honored to have great teachers and leaders and all of you going from grief to healing to joy at the end of Tisha B'Av, our national day of mourning, a day where we mourn Black lives and violence, where we mourn for our country. The real mourning might not be the external temple, but what's happening inside of us. Yes, the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. We were expelled from Spain. We sat down and we wept. We went through grief and we came out of grief. And through grieving, there's healing. And our ritual today is a remarkable combination of teachers who've understood grief in their own lives, as I have, and understood joy. So we've designed this ritual to move towards a ceremony in which we honor a new bowl that's been commissioned, and Susan Felix has created a new magical blessing bowl that channels the mothers. Incredible. And we're going to talk more about that as we go on, but there's the bowl. It says Melanie. I guess Melanie Menzel is the bowl. And the bowl is a remarkable thing. So I want Susan, to my co-leader tonight and my teacher and my friend, my other mom in Berkeley for many, many years, and my co-conspirator in Jewish arts and radical politics. I'd like Susan to explain the course of the evening and how she conceived of it, and we will then begin with our ritual and move toward Ma'ariv, and then the ceremony, and then have a denouement. Susan.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. Thank you, Jonathan. In the 1980s, I went to a lecture at the Magnus that Jonathan gave about cursing bowls that you put over where you think there's a demon and you deliver a curse to it. I said, it's time for blessing bowls. We need to have bowls that are blessings and put the blessings out. And during the 80s, Jonathan and I made bowls together, and I have bowls in a lot of museum permanent collections. And then I kind of went out of that phase and started doing other things. It seemed to me now that it's time for a new blessing bowl, and my friend Melanie lent me her computer. That's why the bowl is called Melanie. But anyway, this is the bowl, and where is Ariel Tonkin? Did the beautiful, beautiful calligraphy on it, and you'll see her somewhere. And she's going to also be doing something. And Jonathan did the prayers, and there she is. There's the bowl, and there are prayers on the edge and prayers inside. And Leah's going to talk about the name in the center. So this is definitely a collaboration, and because we're feeling that this is a way to acknowledge an ending of the plague and also the ending of Tisha B'Av, and we want to put joy out there in the world, and we want to work on the things in this world that need working on, and we want to be the people that do it. We are going to be the people that do it. There's a lot to be done. Let me see what else to say. I think I'm going to read a poem that I wrote, and it's, I am Susan Duhan Felix, and this is dedicated to all the nameless sisters, daughters, mothers, and wives who went before me and never came into their full power to bless. After I had created and sent forth many blessing bowls, I discovered that Duhan meant the giving of the priestly blessing. I have reclaimed that name and the power. But that's passed on through the men, my father said. My husband Morton told me, I'm my father's best son, as I stretch out my hands and bless. So blessings to all of you, and let us reclaim our power to bless and send the blessings out now and into the world, and the best out there. Okay, thank you, everybody, and thank you, people, for coming. It's so wonderful to have everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. We love you, Susan. Thank you for all the work that you do in this world, in Berkeley, in the Bay Area. May you continue to bless us many, many more years, many more. So I'd like to invite our dear friend, our poet, Ruth Gendler, to bless us with her poem that she wrote for this occasion. Ruth.
Let us begin with courage, the courage to make our prayers tangible, to focus and offer our prayers for healing and blessing through ceremony and song. Let us begin with humility, washed with tears, singing our sorrows, whispering our longing for wholeness. Let us begin with imagination, to see the sacred in the ordinary, a bowl ancient and essential to daily life, and to name an unfamiliar ancestor, to honor our mothers. Let us begin with skill, the hand and heart of a maker, an artisan, creativity in the service of spirit. Let us begin with a specific woman, shaping bowls by hand and bringing them to her fire, covering them with sand, cooking them in darkness, and when the fire cools, uncovering the pots, transformed
and wholly new. And each vessel from that firing sings its own story of survival and transformation, of emerging whole from the fire. And one, this one, becomes a blessing bowl. Let us begin with grief and outrage, remembering the recent dead, dying, sometimes bewildered, sometimes in grace, beloved, cherished, unnamed. We are stunned, numb, unable to keep the count current. Let us begin with dedication to honor old rituals and bring them into our time, this time, to mend and amend our fragmentary history and enlarge the story, our stories, renew our sources. Let us begin in anguish and yearning, our yearning for healing from the far side of what we think is possible. Let us begin with language, imprecise and beautiful, pointing to immensities beyond words, beyond our minds. Let us begin with courage. Let us begin with love. Let us begin with love. Let us begin with courage. Thank you.
Let's all take a few breaths and moment of silence for those that have died in grief. Let's take some time, folks. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, ay. Alit Zion. Call on our sister Ariel Tonkin, who helped do the calligraphy. Ariel, if you'd speak or sing or read what's from your heart, we welcome you.
I've been honored to be the steward of that object in my home for the past few months, turning it around in my hands again and again as I paint letter by letter on the inside of the lip, first going around in Hebrew and then adding the English around the side, and lastly adding the name in the belly of the bowl. And Susan has been my dear friend and co-conspirator and collaborator since 2013 for 7 years this summer. And I'm very struck at this moment when so many elders are leaving us too soon before their time. Just the blessing of this intergenerational friendship, this like true friendship that I have with one of my elders, with you, Susan, with a fellow artist and soul sib. And even as I'm grappling with in my own body the magnitude of the whole world of death, which I've written into this kina that I'll sing for you now, this poem, liturgical poem that I'll sing for you now. And even as I'm holding that, as all of humanity is grappling with this, it's orders of magnitude different for Black and brown bodies and Indigenous communities at this time. And even as I'm feeling my heart pour out that grief, I see how having a vessel, both a physical, tangible vessel, to turn around and to paint and touch, inscribe with my own marks on top of Susan's marks, I see how that mimetic practice and that haptic practice heals me. And even so, no bowl could be big enough to hold all the tears. And so that's what I write about. And I'll sing you my piyut. It's a kina for Tisha B'Av in honor of Susan's amuletic bowl to heal the plague. Kol yoshvei teva b'shivam badad v'mechem lekulam zechor acharita v'kaveh v'yeshuam devai levav olamenu achayim v'nei hayordim mayim aval dor ledor teshev kiseimenu shebashamayim tza'ak libenu maspik dayenu yidlu zekenenu vichlu b'limaot enenu uvenizak unshive asatam tfilatenu אבל נשוב אליך כקדם, נחפשה דרכנו. כל יושבי תבל בשבתם בדד, ואין מנחם לכולם. זכור אחריתם וקווה לישועם, אבל בשובתם כפיק במדבר. זכור ימי בכיתנו, עמי ענק.
Holy ground is all around. Holy ground is all around.
Wow, thank you, Lorelei. That we didn't have to listen to watch all 3 hours of that thing, but that was great. That was Baruch Hashem. That was a great video, and it was an amazing event. We'll remember that for a long time. And when I have the koyach, we'll do another one of those at the end of Tisha B'Av, and we'll bring Susan into our hearts too. May she have an easy transition.
Amen. Amen.
So, folks, are we Sof Pasuk, Sof Davar? Is it Erev Tov time, Lorelei?
I think so.
Okay.
But I want to wish everyone
yes.
fasting an easy
If
fast.
I may just say one more thing.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Susan is in the middle of a place that we don't even know right now. I really want to bless her that she come back from that place and grace us again with her presence.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Good night, everybody.
Laila Tov.
Good night, everybody.